The morning sky over New York City turned dark as massive ships blocked out the sun. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his warship and watched through the window as alien vessels appeared above every major city on Earth. The ships were huge, bigger than any building humans had ever made. They hung in the air without making any sound. Jake had been a captain in the Earth Defense Fleet for 15 years. He had trained for this day, but never really believed it would come. Now alien ships filled the sky, and his hand shook as he reached for the radio. "All ships, this is Captain Morrison," he said into the microphone. "Form battle lines and prepare weapons." The alien ships looked like giant crystals made of dark metal. Strange lights moved across their surfaces in patterns that hurt to look at. Jake counted at least 50 ships over New York alone. His radar showed hundreds more around the world. A voice came through every radio and television on Earth at the same time. It spoke in perfect English, but with a cold tone that made people feel afraid. "Humans of Earth," the voice said, "we are the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender now, or we will take your world by force. You have 1 hour to decide." Jake looked at his crew. They were good people who had families back home. His weapons officer was a young woman named Lisa Stone who had joined the fleet to protect her children. His navigator was an older man called Ben Carter who had fought in 3 wars. They all looked scared but ready to fight. "Sir, what are your orders?" Lisa asked. Jake knew their weapons were no match for alien technology, but he could not let Earth surrender without a fight. "Load all missiles and charge the railguns," he ordered. "If they want our world, they will have to take it." The hour passed quickly when the alien voice spoke again. It sounded angry. "You have chosen war," it said. "Now you will see the power of the Zephyrian Empire." The alien ships began to glow with bright blue light. Beams of energy shot down from the sky and hit military bases around the world. Where the beams touched, everything simply disappeared. Tanks, buildings, and people vanished as if they had never existed. Jake watched his radar screen as half the Earth Defense Fleet was destroyed in the first attack. Ships that had taken years to build were gone in seconds. But he gave the order to attack anyway. "Fire everything we have," he shouted. Missiles and energy beams shot up at the alien ships. For a moment, Jake felt hope as he watched their weapons race toward the enemy. Then the alien ships created blue shields around themselves. Every human weapon hit the shields and bounced off harmlessly. Not even their most powerful railguns could damage the alien armor. The aliens fired back with weapons that moved faster than lightning. Jake's ship shook as energy beams hit their hull. The lights went out and emergency power kicked in. Through the smoke, he could see that half his crew was hurt or dead. "Abandon ship," Jake ordered. "Get to the escape pods now." As Jake's ship fell toward the ocean, he could see the same thing happening all over the world. Human warships were falling from the sky like burning leaves. The entire Earth Defense Fleet was being destroyed in less than an hour. The alien ships landed in Central Park. Jake watched from his escape pod as tall creatures walked out of the ships. They looked like giant lizards standing on 2 legs, but they wore armor made of the same crystal material as their ships. Each alien carried a weapon that glowed with blue energy. That the leader of the aliens was bigger than the rest. He stood 8 feet tall and had scars across his face. When he spoke, his voice was the same one that had demanded surrender. "I am Velta," he said. "I have conquered 12 worlds for the Zephyrian Empire. Earth will be the 13th. Human soldiers tried to fight back. Tanks rolled into Central Park and started shooting. Infantry units fired their rifles at the aliens, but nothing worked. The alien armor was too strong and their weapons were too powerful. Every human attack failed. Veltar pointed his weapon at a tank and fired once. The tank turned to dust. He pointed at a building and fired again. The building collapsed into nothing. In minutes, the human army in New York was completely defeated. Jake's escape pod landed in the Hudson River. As he swam to shore, he could see alien ships landing in every part of the city. The invasion had begun and humanity had already lost. Their best weapons and strongest soldiers meant nothing against alien technology. By nightfall, every major city on Earth was under alien control. The governments surrendered rather than watch more people die. Jake and the other survivors went into hiding, but they all knew the truth. The war was over before it had really begun. Humanity had been defeated by an enemy they could not fight. With the weapons they had, the age of human freedom was ending, and the age of alien rule was about to begin. 3 months had passed since the aliens took over Earth. The Zephyrians had built tall metal towers in every city that sent out waves of energy to control human minds. Most people walked around like robots, doing whatever the aliens told them to do, but some humans were still free. Ben Carter hid in the Rocky Mountains with 30 other survivors. He had been a Marine sergeant before the invasion, and now he led one of the few resistance groups left on Earth. They lived in caves and old mine shafts, moving from place to place so the aliens could not find them. The group included people from all walks of life. There was Dr. Amy Rodriguez, a smart woman who used to study physics at the university. There was also Jake Morrison, the former ship captain who had escaped when the aliens destroyed his vessel. A young soldier named Danny Hayes had joined them after his unit was wiped out in the first days of the invasion. Every day was a struggle. To survive, the aliens had poisoned most of the water and destroyed the farms. Ben's people had to hunt animals and gather plants to eat. They made fires only at night when the smoke would be hard to see. During the day they hid and planned ways to fight back. "We need better weapons," Jake said during one of their meetings. "Our rifles and pistols cannot get through their armor." Amy looked up from the broken alien device she was studying. She had found it after a patrol fight where 2 aliens had died. "I think I found something," she said. "Their technology uses a special kind of energy. If we can create the right sound waves, we might be able to disrupt their equipment." Ben nodded, but he looked worried. "Even if we can break their machines, they are still stronger and faster than us. One alien can fight 10 humans and win." The Resistance had tried many attacks over the past months. They had used bombs, rockets, and even poison gas, stolen from military bases. Nothing worked. The alien armor was too good and their shields blocked everything. Worse, every time they attacked, the aliens would kill 100 innocent people as punishment. Danny spoke up from where he sat cleaning his rifle. "Maybe we are thinking about this wrong," he said. "We keep trying to fight them like they are human soldiers, but they are not human. They do not think like us." "What do you mean?" Amy asked. "They use technology for everything," Danny explained. "They never do anything with their hands. Even when they eat, they use machines to put food in their mouths. What if that is their weakness?" Ben had noticed the same thing. Alien patrols always stayed together and used their energy weapons for every task. They never fought hand to hand. Even when humans got close to them, it was like they had forgotten how to fight without their machines. That night, Ben led a small group to attack an alien supply convoy. They planned to use Amy's sound device to disrupt the alien equipment. The device was made from parts of old radios and car batteries. It was not pretty, but Amy thought it might work. The convoy had 6 alien vehicles moving through a mountain pass. Ben and his team hid behind rocks on both sides of the road. When the aliens got close, Amy turned on her device. It made a high noise that hurt human ears, but it seemed to bother the aliens much more. The alien vehicles stopped moving. Their energy shields flickered and went out. The aliens inside began making strange noises like they were in pain. Ben saw his chance and ordered the attack. "Now," he shouted. The humans jumped out from behind the rocks and started shooting. For the first time since the invasion, their bullets actually hit alien armor. The sound device was working. The alien shields were down and their weapons would not fire. But the aliens were not helpless. They climbed out of their vehicles and began fighting with their bare hands. Ben learned that day just how strong the aliens really were. One alien grabbed a human soldier and threw him 20 feet. Another alien ripped a rifle in half with its claws. The fight lasted only a few minutes before Ben had to order a retreat. They had killed 2 aliens but lost 5 humans. It was better than their usual results, but still not good enough to win the war. Back at their hideout, Amy worked on improving her sound device while Ben planned their next move. They had learned that alien technology could be disrupted, but only at very close range. They had also learned that aliens were deadly fighters even without their weapons. "We need a new plan," Ben told his group. "Fighting them with guns is not going to work. We need to find a different way." Jake suggested using traps and ambushes instead of direct attacks. Amy wanted to build more sound devices and try to take over an alien base. Danny had a different idea that he kept to himself. He had been thinking about what his grandfather had told him about fighting in the old days, before guns and bombs. As winter approached, the resistance groups around the world were struggling. Many had been found and destroyed by alien patrols. Others had run out of food and ammunition. The Zephyrian Empire seemed to be winning everywhere, but in the mountains of Colorado, Ben Carter and his people refused to give up. They knew that humanity's only hope was to find a weakness in the alien defenses. They had made a start with Amy's sound device, but they needed something more. They needed a way to fight that the aliens would never expect. Winter was coming to the Rocky Mountains and Ben Carter's group was running out of food. They had been forced to move deeper into the wilderness after their last attack on the alien convoy. The Zephyrians were hunting them with flying machines that could see heat, so the humans had to stay in cold caves during the day. Danny Hayes was checking traps they had set for rabbits. When he saw smoke rising from the forest below, he crept down through the trees to investigate and found an old cabin hidden in a valley. The smoke was coming from a stone chimney, which meant someone was living there. Danny watched the cabin for an hour before he saw a man come outside. The man was old, maybe 70 years, with gray hair and a thick beard. He wore clothes made from animal skins and carried no modern weapons. Danny noticed that the man moved through the forest without making any sound, like a ghost. The old man suddenly stopped and looked right at Danny's hiding place. "You can come out, son," he said in a calm voice. "I know you have been watching me." Danny was surprised but decided to trust his instincts. He stepped out from behind the tree with his hands raised. "I am not here to hurt you," he said. The old man smiled. "I know, if you wanted to hurt me, you would have tried already. My name is Frank Woods. I used to train soldiers before the aliens came." Danny introduced himself and explained about Ben's resistance group. Frank listened without interrupting, then invited Danny to share a meal. The cabin was warm and comfortable, filled with handmade furniture and tools. Danny noticed weapons hanging on the walls, but they were not guns or knives. They were spears, bows, and long wooden sticks. "You do not have any modern weapons," Danny observed. Frank laughed. "Modern weapons did not help much against the aliens, did they? I have been living the old way for the past 20 years. When the invasion happened, I already knew how to survive without technology." Frank explained that he had been a special forces instructor who studied ancient fighting methods. After he retired, he moved to the mountains to live off the land, using only traditional tools and techniques. He had avoided the alien mind control towers by staying far from civilization. "The aliens are advanced, but they have forgotten something important," Frank said. "They depend too much on their machines. Humans used to rule this planet with nothing but sticks and stones." Danny was skeptical. How can sticks and stones fight energy, weapons, and armor? Frank picked up one of the wooden staffs from the wall. It was 6 feet long and made from dark hardwood. The surface was smooth from years of use, and the ends were reinforced with metal caps. "This staff has been with me for 30 years, Frank said. "It has never jammed, never run out of ammunition, and never needed repair. Would you like to see what it can do?" Before Danny could answer, they heard the sound of alien vehicles approaching through the forest. 3 Zephyrian patrol craft were moving up the valley, their energy sensors sweeping back and forth. Danny reached for his rifle, but Frank put a hand on his arm. "Leave this to me," the old man said. Frank walked outside with only his wooden staff. Danny watched through the window as the alien craft landed near the cabin. 6 aliens in crystal armor climbed out and aimed their energy weapons at Frank. Their leader spoke in the cold, mechanical voice that all humans had learned to fear. "Human, you will come with us for processing," the alien said. Frank stood perfectly still until the aliens were close enough to touch. Then he moved faster than Danny thought possible. The staff spun in Frank's hands like it was alive. He struck the first alien in the neck, right where the armor plates connected. The alien fell down and did not get up. The other aliens tried to fire their weapons, but Frank was already moving. He ducked under energy beams and used his staff to hit pressure points on alien bodies that Danny had never known existed. Each strike was precise and powerful. The aliens' armor protected them from bullets and explosions, but it could not stop the focused force of a wooden staff in expert hands. In less than 2 minutes, all 6 aliens were on the ground. Some were unconscious and others were dead. Frank was not even breathing hard. Danny ran outside and stared at the fallen aliens. "How did you do that?" Frank wiped his staff clean and smiled. "The alien's armor is designed to stop energy weapons and projectiles, but it has joints and weak points. Just like any armor, if you know where to hit and how to hit, even the strongest protection can be broken." Frank showed Danny how the staff worked as a lever to multiply force, how the hardwood could concentrate impact into a small area, and how proper technique could generate more power than any machine. He explained that humans had developed these fighting arts over thousands of years, perfecting them through countless wars and battles. "Your people are trying to fight aliens with alien methods," Frank said. "You use guns and bombs because that is what modern humans know. But the aliens are better at that kind of fighting. You need to use what makes humans special." Danny thought about his grandfather's stories of fighting with knives and clubs in the old wars. He had always considered those tales primitive and outdated. Now he realized they might be the key to winning against the Will you teach me? Danny asked. Frank nodded. Go get your friends. It is time for humans to remember who they really are. That evening, Danny brought Ben's entire group to Frank's Valley. The old man welcomed them all and began teaching them the ancient arts of combat. He showed them how to make spears from tree branches, how to craft bows from flexible wood, and how to turn any object into a deadly weapon. Amy was fascinated by the physics involved. The mechanical advantage is incredible, she said as Frank demonstrated leverage techniques. A human using proper body mechanics can generate tremendous force. Ben was more interested in tactics. Can these methods really work against armed aliens? Frank pointed to the 6 alien bodies that still lay near his cabin. They worked today, he said simply. As night fell, the resistance fighters sat around Frank's fire and listened to him explain the old ways of war. For the first time since the invasion, they felt hope. They had found a way to fight that the aliens would never expect, using weapons that could not be jammed or destroyed, techniques that had been proven in battle for thousands of years. Danny Hayes spent every waking hour learning from Frank Woods, while the other resistance fighters practiced with spears and bows. Danny focused all his attention on the fighting staff. There was something about the long wooden weapon that felt natural in his hands, like he had been born to use it. Frank watched Danny's progress with growing amazement. I have trained soldiers for 40 years, the old man told Ben Carter one evening. I have never seen anyone learn this fast. Danny had grown up poor in the streets of Detroit. His father had left when he was young, and his mother worked 3 jobs to keep food on the table. Danny learned to fight using whatever he could find: broken pipes, baseball bats, pieces of concrete. Other kids had knives and guns, but Danny became deadly with simple objects that no one else considered weapons. The staff is just a bigger stick, Danny explained to Amy Rodriguez as they sat by the fire. I have been fighting with sticks my whole life. Frank began teaching Danny advanced techniques that he had learned from masters around the world. There were moves from ancient China that could break bones with a light touch, strikes from old Japan that could stop a heart, and throws from Europe that could send a large man flying through the air. But Danny did more than just copy what Frank taught him. He added his own ideas, combining street fighting tricks with traditional martial arts. He learned to use the staff as a club, a spear, a lever, and a shield. In his hands, the wooden weapon became something new and dangerous. Amy helped Danny understand the science behind what he was doing. She explained how the staff worked as a force multiplier, how proper angles could concentrate impact, and how the human body could generate enormous power when used correctly. Together, they calculated the exact physics of each technique. A staff strike to the head can generate over 2,000 pounds of force, Amy told the group during one of their training sessions. That is enough to crack any armor if you hit the right spot. Danny worked on crafting his own weapon. He selected a piece of ash wood that was exactly 6 feet long and 2 inches thick. He spent days shaping it with hand tools, making sure the balance was perfect. He fire-hardened the ends and wrapped the grip with leather from an alien patrol pack they had captured. The finished staff was a work of art. It was smooth as glass and strong as steel. Danny practiced with it every day until it became an extension of his body. He could spin it, throw it, catch it, and strike with it faster than the eye could follow. 3 weeks after meeting Frank, Ben decided it was time to test their new fighting methods. An alien supply depot had been built in a valley, 20 miles away. It was heavily guarded, but Ben thought they might be able to capture supplies and weapons if they used Frank's techniques. The depot was surrounded by energy barriers and patrolled by 12 Zephyrian soldiers. Ben's plan was simple. Amy would use her sound device to disrupt the alien equipment while the rest of the team attacked with traditional weapons. Danny would lead the assault with his staff. They approached the depot at night when alien vision was weakest. Amy set up her sound generator on a hill overlooking the base while the fighters crept down through the rocks. When everything was ready, Ben gave the signal. Amy's device sent out waves of disrupting energy that made the alien equipment flicker and fail. The energy barriers went down and the alien weapons stopped working. But instead of panicking, the Zephyrian guards formed a defensive circle and prepared to fight hand to hand. Danny was the first human to reach the aliens. He moved like water flowing downhill, smooth and unstoppable. His staff whirled around him in patterns that confused the alien defenders. Every strike hit exactly where it needed to hit: joints in armor, pressure points on necks, nerve clusters that humans had mapped centuries ago. The first alien tried to grab Danny with its claws, but Danny slipped aside and drove his staff into the creature's throat. The alien fell choking. The second alien swung a massive fist, but Danny ducked and swept its legs with his staff. As the alien fell, Danny struck it in the head with enough force to crack its crystal helmet. Ben and the other fighters joined the battle, but they could barely keep up with Danny. The young man moved through the alien defenders like a force of nature. His staff never stopped moving, never missed its target, never failed to find a weakness in the alien defenses. In 5 minutes, all 12 guards were down. Some were dead and others were unconscious, but none were still fighting. Danny stood in the center of the depot with his staff held ready, not even breathing hard. The other humans stared at him in amazement. "How did you do that?" Jake Morrison asked. "Those aliens are twice as strong as humans." Danny smiled and rested his staff against his shoulder. "They are strong, but they are not smart fighters. They depend on their technology so much that they forgot how to really fight. When their machines stopped working, they did not know what to do. The resistance fighters loaded their packs with alien supplies and equipment. But the real victory was not the materials they captured. It was the knowledge that humans could win against the Zephyrians using nothing but skill and simple weapons." Frank had stayed back at the cabin, but he watched the battle through binoculars from a distant hill. When the fighters returned, the old man was smiling. "You have done something remarkable tonight," Frank told Danny. "You have shown that humans are still the most dangerous predators on this planet." Word of the victory spread through the resistance network. Other groups had heard rumors about the old man in the mountains who was teaching ancient fighting arts, but now they had proof that it worked. Messages came in from around the world asking for instructions and training. Amy began writing down everything Frank taught them. She created manuals that explained how to make traditional weapons and how to use them effectively against alien technology. Ben organized training camps where resistance fighters could learn the old ways of war, but it was Danny who became the symbol of human resistance. Stories about the young man with the wooden staff spread from group to group, growing larger with each telling. The aliens began to hear the stories too, and for the first time since the invasion, they felt something they had not experienced in decades of conquest. They felt fear. The reports coming into Zephyrian High Command made no sense to Veltar the Merciless. His patrols were being destroyed by humans using primitive wooden weapons. Elite soldiers who had conquered entire worlds were being defeated by creatures wielding sticks and stones. It was impossible, yet it kept happening. "Show me the recordings again," Veltar ordered his intelligence officer. The holographic display showed the attack on Supply Depot 7. Veltar watched as a single human male destroyed 12 Zephyrian warriors using nothing but a long piece of wood. The human moved with speed and precision that their computers could barely track. Every strike found a weakness in their armor that should not have existed. "How is this possible?" Veltar demanded. "Our armor is designed to stop plasma cannons and fusion bombs. How can a piece of wood penetrate it?" The intelligence officer, a nervous creature named Ziegthal, consulted his datapad. "The humans are not trying to penetrate the armor, Commander. They are striking at connection points and joints where the armor is weakest. They are also using leverage and momentum to generate far more force than should be possible for such small creatures." Veltar studied the recordings more carefully. The human warrior's staff moved in patterns that seemed random but were actually precisely calculated. Each strike hit exactly the right spot at exactly the right angle. It was like watching a machine that had been programmed to find flaws in Zephyrian defenses. "Send out patrol groups to capture one of these humans alive," Veltar ordered. "I want to understand how they fight." But the patrol groups never returned. Reports came in from around the world of similar attacks. Humans were abandoning their technological weapons and returning to primitive tools. Somehow, these crude implements were proving more effective than advanced military hardware. In the Rocky Mountains, Ben Carter's training camps were producing new fighters every week. Frank Woods had trained a dozen instructors who spread out across the continent to teach others. The techniques were simple enough that any human could learn them, but mastering them took dedication and practice. Danny Hayes had become the most famous resistance fighter on Earth. Video recordings of his battles were smuggled from Group 2, group showing humans everywhere that the aliens could be beaten. But fame brought danger. The Zephyrians were hunting specifically for him now, sending their best warriors to track him down. Amy Rodriguez had perfected her disruption technology and created weapons that could disable alien equipment from a distance. But she discovered something even more important while studying captured alien devices. The Zephyrians had become so dependent on their technology that they had lost many basic skills. "They cannot function without their machines," Amy explained to Ben during one of their planning meetings. "Their armor feeds them, helps them move, even assists with breathing. When we disrupt their technology, we are not just taking away their weapons, we are taking away their ability to survive. This knowledge changed everything. Human fighters began targeting alien equipment rather than the aliens themselves. A staff strike that cracked a power pack could disable an entire suit of armor. A spear thrust that severed the right cable could leave an alien helpless. The psychological impact on Zephyrian forces was devastating. These proud warriors had conquered 12 worlds through technological superiority. They had never faced an enemy that fought according to different rules. Human fighters seemed to appear from nowhere, strike with primitive weapons, and vanish before reinforcements could arrive. Frank Woods observed the changing nature of the war with satisfaction. The aliens thought they were fighting soldiers. He told Danny one evening, but soldiers use guns and tactics that can be predicted. We are not fighting like soldiers anymore, we are fighting like hunters. Danny had developed his own fighting style that combined everything Frank had taught him with techniques he invented himself. His staff work had become so advanced that other resistance fighters could barely follow his movements. He could fight multiple aliens at once and win, using their size and strength against them. The turning point came during the Battle of Chicago. A large Zephyrian garrison controlled the city from a fortified base in the downtown area. Local resistance groups had been trying to liberate the city for months but had failed repeatedly. Then Danny arrived with 50 fighters trained in the ancient arts. The attack began at dawn when Army's disruption devices knocked out the alien defensive systems. But instead of a frontal assault, the humans used guerrilla tactics that the aliens had never encountered. They moved through the city like shadows, striking from unexpected directions and disappearing before the aliens could respond. Danny led the main assault on the command center. Security recordings later showed him fighting his way through 30 alien guards without taking a single hit. His staff moved so fast it looked like he was carrying multiple weapons. Every alien that tried to stop him ended up unconscious or dead. The battle lasted 6 hours and ended with complete human victory. An entire Zephyrian battalion was destroyed by fighters using wooden weapons and Stone Age tactics. The alien survivors fled the city in panic, abandoning their equipment and supplies. News of the Chicago victory spread around the world in hours. Resistance groups everywhere began planning similar attacks. The Zephyrian Empire, which had seemed unstoppable just months before, was suddenly losing ground on every continent. Viltar received reports of defeats from across the galaxy. His forces were being driven off world after world by enemies using primitive weapons. The Empire's reputation for invincibility was crumbling, and other species were beginning to rebel against Zephyrian rule. We must stop this human before he destroys everything we have built, Viltar told his council. I will challenge him to single combat. When I defeat their champion, their resistance will collapse. But Viltar did not understand what he was truly facing. Danny Hayes was no longer just a human with a stick. He had become something new, a perfect fusion of ancient wisdom and modern knowledge. He represented everything that made humans dangerous: their ability to adapt, to improvise, and to turn any tool into a weapon. The challenge was broadcast across Earth. Viltar, the conqueror of 12 worlds, would fight the human champion in single combat. The fate of both species would be decided. By this battle, Danny accepted immediately, knowing that this was the moment everything had been leading toward. The arena was built in the ruins of Central Park, where the alien invasion had begun 6 months earlier. Viltar chose the location to remind humans of their defeat, but now it would serve a different purpose. Every human resistance fighter who could reach New York gathered to watch the battle that would decide Earth's fate. Danny Hayes stood at one end of the arena with only his wooden staff. The weapon looked plain and simple compared to the advanced technology around it. The wood was worn smooth from months of battle, stained dark with the proof of countless victories. Small scratches and dents told the story of every fight Danny had won. Viltar entered from the opposite side wearing his finest armor. The crystal plates gleamed like mirrors and energy flowed across the surface in complex patterns. His weapon was a sword made of pure energy that could cut through tank armor like paper. Everything about the alien commander spoke of technological superiority and overwhelming power. Human Viltar called across the arena, "You have caused much trouble for the Zephyrian Empire. Today your primitive ways will be proven worthless against true advancement." Danny did not reply with words. He simply raised his staff and settled into a fighting stance that Frank Woods had taught him. His feet were positioned for maximum balance, his grip was relaxed but ready, and his eyes never left his opponent's center of mass. The battle began when Viltar activated his energy sword and charged forward. The alien was incredibly fast, covering the distance between them in seconds. His sword swept toward Danny's head with enough force to decapitate a human instantly. But Danny was not there when the blade arrived. He had already moved, flowing aside like water around a stone. As Veltar's momentum carried him past, Danny's staff struck the alien's knee joint with surgical precision. The armor held, but Veltar stumbled and nearly fell. Veltar spun around and attacked again, this time with a series of rapid strikes meant to overwhelm his opponent. The energy sword left trails of light as it cut through the air, but every attack missed its target by inches. Danny moved with an economy of motion that made each dodge look effortless. Stand still and fight. Veltar roared in frustration. Danny smiled and began his own attack. His staff spun in his hands like a living thing, striking at Veltar from angles the alien had never seen before. Each blow targeted a specific weakness, a joint in the armor, a sensor cluster, a power coupling that connected vital systems. Veltar's armor began to malfunction as Danny's strikes found their marks. Lights flickered and went out. Energy flows became irregular. The alien's movements grew slower and clumsier as his technological advantages failed one by one. This is impossible, Veltar gasped. Your primitive weapon cannot defeat advanced engineering. You are right, Danny replied, striking again at a damaged section of armor. My weapon cannot defeat your technology, but it does not need to. I am not fighting your machines, I am fighting you. The truth of Danny's words became clear as the battle continued. Veltar had spent so many years depending on his armor and weapons that he had forgotten how to fight as a living being. When his technology failed, he had nothing left to fall back on. He was like a pilot whose plane had crashed, still dangerous, but no longer in his element. Danny, on the other hand, was fighting exactly as humans had fought for thousands of years. His weapon was an extension of his body. His techniques were burned into his muscle memory, and his tactics came from instincts that went back to the dawn of humanity. He was not using alien methods to fight aliens. He was using human methods that the aliens could not understand or counter. The end came. Suddenly, Veltar made one final desperate attack, putting all his remaining power into a single sword strike. Danny waited until the last possible second, then stepped inside the alien's reach and drove his staff upward into Veltar's throat. The wooden weapon found the tiny gap between helmet and chest plate, the one weakness that no engineer had thought to protect. Veltar fell backward and did not get up. His armor powered down with a series of fading lights. The energy sword flickered and went out. The conqueror of 12 worlds had been defeated by a human with a stick. The arena fell silent. Then, slowly, the watching humans began to cheer. The sound started as a whisper but grew into a roar that could be heard across the city. Danny raised his staff above his head in victory, and the cheering grew even louder. Veltar struggled to speak through his damaged armor. How, he whispered. How did you defeat the might of the Zephyrian Empire? Danny knelt beside the fallen alien commander. You made a mistake, he said gently. You thought that the most advanced weapon was the most dangerous one, but the most dangerous weapon is not the newest or the most complex. It is the one in the hands of someone who knows how to use it. Within hours of Veltar's defeat, Zephyrian forces around the world began withdrawing. Their morale was broken and their confidence shattered. The species that had conquered 12 worlds through technological superiority had been humbled by humans, using wooden sticks and Stone Age tactics. The alien fleet prepared to leave Earth's orbit. Before departing, the new Zephyrian commander sent a message to the human resistance. We came to your world expecting to find primitive creatures who could be easily conquered. Instead, we found the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy. We will not make the mistake of underestimating humanity again. As the last alien ship disappeared into space, Danny stood with his friends in the ruins of Central Park. Frank Woods put a hand on his shoulder and smiled. You have done something remarkable, son. You have reminded the galaxy that humans are not to be taken lightly. Ben Carter was already making plans to rebuild human civilization. Amy Rodriguez wanted to study the alien technology they had left behind. Jake Morrison spoke of building new defenses to protect Earth from future invasions. But Danny had a different idea. He looked at his battered staff and thought about all the battles it had won. We should teach everyone what we learned, he said. Every human child should know how to fight with simple weapons. We should never again depend so much on technology that we forget who we are. Frank nodded approvingly. The old ways and the new ways together. That is how humanity will survive whatever comes next. In the months that followed, martial arts schools opened in every city on Earth. Children learned to fight with staffs and spears alongside computers and robots. Scientists studied both alien technology and ancient combat techniques. Humanity had been reminded that their greatest strength was not their machines, but their ability to adapt and overcome any challenge. The Zephyrian invasion had lasted only 6 months, but it changed humanity forever. They learned that sometimes the oldest solutions were the best solutions, that simple tools and skilled hands could defeat the most advanced technology, and that the human spirit was the most powerful weapon of all. Danny kept his wooden staff for the rest of his life. It never broke, never wore out, and never failed him when he needed it most. He often told people that it was just a piece of wood, nothing special or magical about it, but everyone who saw him fight knew better. In the right hands, even a simple stick could change the fate of worlds.